Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manav Sinha and it is so good to see all of you lovely people once again. In case you're new here, well, this is that one show which satisfies your hunger for both technology as well as automobiles at one place, which basically means why should you be watching two shows when you can watch one? This one. Now just like every time, there's a lot of action that we have to cover, so let's get to it straight away. This week we'll be taking you for a drive in the all-new Tata Safari. Then we'll take you on a gaming spree on the brand new Sony PlayStation 5. And we'll talk about the safety and privacy of social media and messaging apps. So yes, we'll be covering all of that, and yes, if you've noticed, the Lexus NX 300h is giving us company today for this episode. Now we're going to start off with the Tata Safari. Yes, it's back. A lot of people have been expecting it. Some of us know it as the Tata Gravitas, but nevertheless, let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the Tata Safari straight away, and let's check out Urjit's first drive review.
For the longest of time, Tata Safari has been associated with masculinity and power, something which the SUV lovers in India crave for. However, with the changing times, the SUV market in India also evolved and Tata Motors decided to discontinue the old Safari only to revive the brand back within an year's time. Now the new Safari here with me today is a representation of the modern SUV, something which the die-hard fans don't like, but that's a conversation for some other day. What we are here today to find out is whether this new model can carry the burden of the iconic nameplate like Safari and what new does it offer. Now wait, you might be confused what's so different about Harrier and Safari in terms of design, and I won't blame you because Safari is actually a Harrier with the extended length and an increased height, and that's all about the changes. But that is also good in a part because Harrier is one of the best looking SUVs in India, which automatically makes the Safari a good looking SUV. The other design elements that gives the Safari its personality includes a nicely crafted grille with tri-aerochrome elements and humanity line, stepped roof with roof rails, large wheel arches with 18-inch alloy wheels, sleek DRLs with xenon headlights and twin LED tail lamps. Interestingly, like the other Tata SUVs, there are Easter eggs to be found everywhere, like the one on the rear glass panel depicting a lion family you can spot during a safari. Now the first thing you notice as soon as you step inside the cabin of the new Safari is the fact that it feels so airy and so spacious thanks to the use of these oyster white leather seats and also this large panoramic sunroof which Tata is calling Majestic Sky Dome. Also, Tata will be offering two variants, a 6-seater and a 7-seater cabin option. The one I'm sitting today is the bench type 7-seater Safari, and there'll be a 6-seater Safari with the captain type seats. And it's not that Tata has just added the third row seat to differentiate the product, but the third row seats actually serve a purpose. They get USB ports, AC vents of their own, air controller knob, cup holders, and the legroom is sufficient for an average size adult, while the headroom is marginal. The rear seats don't feel claustrophobic at all. The seats can be flat folded to accommodate additional luggage in the boot, which is otherwise strictly okay for vertically placed small bags. However, there's enough cabin space all throughout, and so are there ample storage spaces neatly tucked here and there. Feature-wise, the new Safari gets floating 8.8-inch touchscreen infotainment system with 9-speaker JBL audio system, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and Aira connected car technology. There's also a 7-inch colored TFT instrument cluster display. Then there are features like ambient mood lighting, power driver seat, auto AC, and unique Boss mode to adjust front seat from the second row itself. While Tata has significantly improved the overall cabin quality, design, and fit and finish, I didn't like the touch response of the infotainment screen. Now Tata is offering the new Safari with only one engine option, which is a 2-liter Creotech turbo diesel producing 170 PS of power and 350 Nm of torque. There are two gearbox options to choose from, a manual and an automatic unit. While Tata is not offering a 4-wheel drive system as standard, what it is offering is a terrain response system with normal, mud and rough modes. There are also drive modes consisting Eco, City and Sport options. Talking about driving experience, I really like the way the new SUV behaved during our first drive. The engine was amply powerful and refined, while I loved the automatic gearbox which behaved in sync with the engine. I have my share of disappointment with the manual gearbox, but that's just a result of overtly good auto gearbox. While Safari is a new vehicle, it is actually made on the tried and trusted Omega Arc platform, giving it a plush and balanced ride quality. The Safari soaks in most of the bumps and the soft suspension adds to the cabin comfort. Tata has done wonders with NVH levels and hardly any engine or external noise creeps inside the cabin. The steering was too light for my liking, and I felt Tata made the steering extra light to give Safari a more city-friendly approach. It tends to oversteer sometimes. Otherwise, the leather-wrapped steering feels chunky to hold. Lastly, the safety bit, for which Tata cars are already renowned for. With safety tech like electronic parking brake with auto hold, all disc brakes, tire pressure monitoring system, 6 airbags, ABS with EBD, hill descent control among many, I am pretty sure Tata Safari will soon turn out to be the safest India-made 7-seater SUV. I really like the way how Tata Motors has evolved in the past couple of years, and the new Safari is an extension of its new product offensive. It's both good looking and feature packed. And going by the history of Tata Motors, it will be one of the safest and value for money offering in its class. Well, should you buy one? Of course, if you love a modern 7-seater SUV, and no, if you are one of those loyalists who loved the old Safari.
So yes, the Tata Safari is back and it's better than ever. But now let's move on to the world of technology, and we love talking about gaming. Now, if you're a gamer like me, you know that there is a new Sony PlayStation 5 out there, and after a long wait, it's finally come to the Indian market. Shouvik has got his hands on it, and here's how his experience went.
The PlayStation is truly a once-in-a-generation gadget. You see, the PS3 was launched in 2006, the PS4 came in 2013, and finally in 2020 we had with us the PS5. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, Sony couldn't get it in India and have it up for sale by November, but finally in February 2021 it is available for Indian buyers, and we have with us the PlayStation 5. However, is it really what Sony had promised? Is it a generational jump? Does it redefine gaming? Does it make gaming even more fun if it's possible? We find out in our review of the Sony PlayStation 5.
When it comes to the design, this is the most polarizing part about the PlayStation 5 console. Now, many might say that this looks a little too unlike everything else that's there at your home, and for the most part you will not be wrong. However, the Sony designers have finally put the fun back in gaming with the PlayStation 5's funky, outlandish and futuristic design. Now, when it comes to performance, the PlayStation 5 really stands out in terms of what it offers. It is the gaming console for making gaming fun again and making you want to use the console for every single purpose. The overall gameplay is really smooth with the way the PlayStation 5 operates. It has enough power thanks to its custom AMD Zen 2 architecture processor and the custom AMD RDNA 2 graphics processor, along with the super fast SSD which has 667 GB of free space on the console. This is a recipe for super fast, super smooth and super fluid gaming. And even older games like Need for Speed Heat, which had good graphics but seemed a little sluggish before, do look absolutely stunning on the PlayStation 5, and it might just be a domino effect, but it does seem to look a little better as well on the PS5. And even for entertainment purposes, the overall overhauled interface looks really good to use. As mentioned before, your older PS4 games will work on the PS5, and we have played FIFA 20 and NFS Heat, which are PS4 titles and were sent to us by EA Sports to try out how the older games look on the new generation console. For something like a FIFA, because of its graphical limitations, it doesn't feel like a brand new game. However, thanks to the super smoothness of the PlayStation 5's performance, All the menu switchings happen so smoothly that you actually take half the amount of time in dealing with transfers and other affairs on FIFA when you are playing it on the PS5. On a game like Need for Speed Heat, it is also pretty clear that the graphics do look much better and the overall game runs much smoother than it would have on an older generation console. The real light really shines through on games which have been optimized for PS5, and Sony sent us Spider-Man Miles Morales to try out on the console, and the overall graphics and the overall smoothness of the game is absolutely stunning.
At the end of the day, yes, the PlayStation is expensive now. The PS5 costs 50,000 rupees. If you want the all digital edition, which is something that I personally would buy since I no longer buy CDs for games, that will be available for 40,000. But getting your hand on that for available stocks might be a little difficult, and you might have to wait a few months to buy that. But the PlayStation 5 brings the fun back in gaming. It makes a whole lot of difference with the kind of speed the game is play in with the PlayStation 5, and on an overall sense it is just a fun gadget to have. It is irreverent and it brings a wholesome experience to the world of gaming, even for casual gamers or occasional gamers who might not go too far beyond the occasional FIFA or Need for Speed or an Assassin's Creed. But at the end of the day, this is a gadget that you're gonna invest in for 5 to 7 or maybe even 10 years, and for that the PlayStation 5 is definitely worth all the money in terms of the fun that it delivers to you.
So I know it's been a really fun presentation from us up until this point. We've talked about the Tata Safari, we've talked about the new Sony PlayStation 5, but now let's talk about something a little bit serious. You see, in the world of technology, there's been a lot of chat that's going around regarding the safety and privacy of social media and messaging apps. But what is that chat all about, and should you be worried? Well, Darab is explaining more.
WhatsApp's privacy policy debate is still going on, and now the government of India has also stepped in, asking WhatsApp to exclude Indians from its data sharing policy with Facebook. Meanwhile, users in India and abroad are moving to more secure messaging apps like Telegram and Signal.
When it comes to email, Gmail is the most popular email service that people use on a day-to-day basis. Being the most popular email service, Gmail comes with its own privacy-related red flags. Gmail has been accused of scanning users' email inboxes for advertising purposes and letting third-party advertisers also do the same. A popular privacy-focused alternative to Gmail is ProtonMail. ProtonMail enables end-to-end encryption of email, which means that no third-party advertiser or developer nor ProtonMail itself can read your emails. In terms of permissions, ProtonMail asks for access to certain things like contacts, shared storage, network, fingerprint or biometric hardware, internet, and so on. Gmail, in comparison, does a lot more. The permissions that the app require include running foreground services, read your sync settings, toggle sync on and off, read Google service configuration, ask to ignore battery optimization, and more. Apart from Gmail, Google Chrome is another Google app which is used by a lot of people globally as the default web browser. That's not it. Google Chrome has more often than not touted to be like a surveillance software from Google. The web browser allows one of the most number of tracking cookies, and while the option of blocking all those cookies does exist, doing so deprives users of some integral features of the browser and other Google apps and services on Chrome. Google Chrome even tracks users when they are not logged into their Google account while using it. Now, Brave is a privacy-centric web browser that can be a good alternative to Google Chrome. The browser prevents online tracking and claims to keep your information safe and secure. Brave also says that it will never sell user data to third parties and also shows how many ads and tracking cookies it blocks every day. Coming to social media, Twitter and Facebook are the two most popular social media platforms. They are also the most notorious when it comes to using or misusing users' data. While Facebook's violations are something everybody is aware of, Twitter has also been penalized for misusing people's personal information to serve them ads. Mastodon allows users to create their own private networks. These networks are used to host smaller Twitter-like platforms which are not connected to a central server system, but are instead created in the local servers, meaning that no content is stored, displayed, and cannot contact with the central server. Coming to WhatsApp, the Facebook-owned messaging platform is not the free and open messaging app that it started out as. WhatsApp has been sharing some metadata with Facebook since 2016. WhatsApp also says that as a payments platform, it collects your transactional data as well. Telegram and Signal have emerged as two of the most safest and the most popular alternatives to WhatsApp in the recent times. Out of the two, Telegram is based on the MTP protocol, which allows it to provide speed and safety even in weak connections. Telegram says that only the secret chat feature, when enabled, uses end-to-end encryption. Normal chats, on the other hand, are also encrypted, but they use a server-to-client encryption instead of a client-to-client encryption on the secret chat feature. Signal, on the other hand, has gained significant attention since WhatsApp's recent privacy debacle. Signal also has one of the most clear privacy policy where the company says that the app is designed to never collect or store any information. Signal also says that it does not sell, rent, or monetize any personal data or content in any way ever.
Now, while these more secure alternatives do provide better safety features and have better data policies, they still require certain permissions within your phone to access certain data points in order to implement their features.
Welcome back. You're watching the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manav Sinha, and yes, the Lexus NX300H is giving us company today for this episode. Now, during the coronavirus pandemic, which hasn't ended by the way, people weren't really buying cars when the lockdown and all was happening. But an industry that saw the biggest boom ever was the cycling industry. Now, in order to understand this trend better, Archit Garg got hold of the CEO of Firefox Bikes, and here's how the conversation went.
Hello everyone. Setting aside our usual conversations around four-wheelers, we will today talk about cycles, and to discuss over it, I have with me Shukanto Das, who is the CEO at Firefox Bikes. Mr. Das, welcome and thanks for talking to News 18.
Thank you, Arjit.
So I'll start by asking you that COVID-19 has surely dented the sales of auto OEMs. How is the response for cycles?
So, Arjit, we are one of those industries which have ended up on the right side of COVID, if I may say so. Post-pandemic, when we opened up, we realized that people have taken up to biking like never before. It's been a trend across the world, starting from Europe, which opened earlier than India after the lockdown. However, in India, we saw a similar kind of trend. People wanted to have a means to engage in social activities, in fitness and health, while maintaining social distance. So bike was the perfect answer for it.
What do you think transportation, health, or social media drove the urban bias towards cycles?
I think, Arjit, the most important thing which drove adoption of cycling was fitness, health, and also the need to maintain social distancing while you are trying to stay fit.
Right.
So with gyms being closed and the fact that people were apprehensive of congregating, bicycles were easy to ride, as I said, maintain social distance, and also easy on the pocket to adopt.
What should a buyer look while buying a bicycle?
Okay, so there are two ways where how adults go about deciding upon the bike nowadays as far as the premium segment is concerned. I think first that what they look at is are the bikes comfortable to ride, how easy is to pedal, how easy are it to shift gears, and basically is it a complicated way of riding or is it an easy way of riding. Then they look at the seating postures, whether it is easy on the back or not. So those are the, I would say, criteria, or those are the, I would say, parameters basis which people ride the bike and then choose a bike. Price plays a very important role, but I think the Indian consumer is now evolving a lot, and as I said, I think the Indian customer is now matured.
You talked about these things from the buyer's perspective, that so and so things are being looked upon by buyer while going out in the market. But as a manufacturer, what should a buyer actually look for while buying a cycle?
Okay, I think first what is important is to figure out what is your aim. So what is it that you want to do?
Okay.
So are you going to pick up a bike primarily for health and fitness, or are you somebody who wants to kind of take your bike out for an adventure? When I
Okay.
say with health and fitness, are you going to basically essentially ride on city roads or around your neighborhood? Then you need a different kind of a bike, like a hybrid bike can do very well for you. But if you want to take your bike a little bit on adventure in terms of say off-roading, then you go for a mountain bike. A third category which is meant for people who want speed. So these are the race bikes, also called road bikes. Once you sit on the saddle or the seat, as most people call it, whether your knees are straight, absolutely straight, and only the tip of your toe is touching the ground. So that will ensure that when you're pedaling, your knee goes all the way down, and you're not stressing your knee on a longer ride. So I think these would be the things to be looked at. Sounds a little bit technical, but not much.
Thank you very much for talking to News 18.
Thank you very much, Arjun. Pleasure talking to you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of the Tech and Auto Show. How did you find the show? Is there anything you have to say, anything you want us to cover, or simply want to have a conversation? Reach out to us on Twitter. We're more than happy to talk. If it's about technology, you can reach out to us at News18 Tech. If it's about automobiles, tweet out to us at News18 Auto. And remember, by logging on to news18.com, you can read up more on both these industries as well as the Lexus NX300H. Well, that's about all for today. I'll catch you same time next week, only on CNN News 18.